Howdy y'all, it looks like we are playing Death Race. Death Race is a movie that, if you don't remember, was a film that originally starred Jason Statham. It was a film where set in the distant future, or it could even be a possible future that we might not be aware of. Who knows? But it's a set in future movie where death row convicts would get a chance at freedom if they would go through these races. The thing about the races is, these car races, is that you could get killed, you could die, of course, by guns that are attached to the cars, or rockets that are attached to the cars, or any kind of ammunition. And anyways, after 5 races, you went scot-free no matter what your crime was, just because you made the steal. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this concept. If anything, I've seen this movie, the very first Jason Statham movie, a couple times, just because I really enjoyed it, just because it had a mixture of just a lot of great things. Just because it had a very Mad Max flavor. It had a very, it felt like Mad Max. It felt like, I would say Mad Max, or there was a Kevin Lutz movie that came out that was called Arena, that is kind of similar to this in a way, except for the whole fact that like that felt like there wasn't a time for that movie. There wasn't a set year or date. It's just a movie where people steal people and make them fight. But it's almost the same concept. But if anything, this, even though I found out later that this was kind of a remake of the original one, I think was Death Race 2000 was the original movie, and I think they ultimately remade that, if I'm not mistaken. Too early. Whoops. Yeah, but I just thought it was great. I thought it was just a very fresh concept, and I was happy that they actually made multiple movies. Some people might have just been familiar with the Jason Statham movie and didn't know that there was movies afterwards. But I think the ones that came afterwards, of course, didn't have Jason Statham in it, which makes sense. Like, to have a big name actor like that continuously do movies, but I think where they went after, I think they went back to the retelling of the origins of the character pre-Jason Statham, and I thought that was really smart just because, like, ideally you built up this character that Jason Statham was supposed to be, to just be this ooh-ah character that had this huge backstory that no one's heard of, because of course there wasn't a movie before that until they kept doing movies afterwards. And the only problem, or the funny thing was, the thing was that they called the prequels the sequels. So imagine a story that predates the first movie, but is called Death Race 2 and Death Race 3, and I think there was a Death Race 4. I'm sure anybody could correct me if I was wrong. Yeah, but like I said, if anything, I really enjoyed the first movie, and I even enjoyed the ones that came afterwards. Just because it felt, like I said, it felt like something I haven't seen before, and something. I thought it was just odd that a race movie had a story. Just because it's funny to me how, like, you know how, like, Mad Max is probably the perfect example of pretty much this whole thing where you think about, like, Mad Max. Did Mad Max, like, really have a story? Not really. If anything, Mad Max was kind of a let's get to the action kind of thing. And you could say the reason for that being is because it was an Australian movie and they were trying to get to a wider audience, so that meant that some of their characters didn't talk very much, or it was just kind of, it was just kind of it was just kind of action, just because, like, well, if your main issue was trying to understand the actors, like, why would you give them dialogue? But anyways, I thought it was interesting that they went back to after this first original story, because Jason Statham was supposed to be covering for the famous racer known as Frankenstein, and he was supposed to replace him for one race, and all he needed to do was to race one race, and he would win his freedom, because realistically he was covering for the famous racer, and it was all privacy, or it was all like cloak and dagger stuff, and he couldn't tell anybody that he was Frankenstein. He had to keep it hidden, but he was like the best driver for the job, and like ideally there was nobody better for the job. And as the movie progresses, not spoiling it for anybody that wants to actually go back and watch the film, like there was a reason why like he was so special, and Jason Statham character was so special, and there was a reason why he was like the perfect man for the perfect job. But I won't go into much details in the movie. Ideally, I could probably just spoil the entire thing, but I would highly suggest people, like, I want to leave it up to people to watch the video, because, like, if I'm recommending you to please watch the film, because it's a really good film, but I spoil everything. Or hey, if people have seen the film, I could probably go through and do, like, I could probably go over again and do just like a complete, like, spoiler video. Maybe I'll do one video where I talk over the movie, and then maybe I'll do another video where I go do a maybe more in-depth, more like I guess it would be like a spoiler talk over about how like, oh, were you expecting this in the movie? No, I wasn't expecting that at all. Oh, were you expecting this? And I would talk over I would mention like what happens in the film to I guess give you my thoughts of, maybe not scene to scene, but like the big parts of the movie that ooh and odd me or whatever. That is the reason why I highly suggest, if you haven't seen this film, or maybe even haven't seen it in a while, I would just suggest go back and watching it again. Just because of this was such a great film. I thought that having Tyrese be the buddy cop, like, because Jason Statham and Tyrese was a good like pairing throughout the movie. I thought the characters that they chose, the casting was very well done. Felt very, like, I remember in some movies, like, remember in the 80s action films where, like, one guy would, like, the hero and the villain would be, like, hugely freaking muscular, and like everybody else would just be like these skinny stick figures and whatever. Like stuff like that is just so ridiculous. But like that's just how they did movies. It was just kind of like, if anything, they made you care only about the it's like only the villain or the hero mattered. Everybody else was just kind of, they were just kind of there. Okay, I'll just do this. But if anything, I just feel it's kind of sad that like Jason Statham like hasn't really, he kind of just like faded away. Like if anything, he does, he has done things, but the second one got a little like, come on, really? Like, I still think the films as a whole were very well done and very like interesting to watch. Even though, like I said, the second one kind of was just like kind of felt very like hamming it up. Like if anything, the only things that I really cared or liked about the second one was maybe like the fighting scenes, but other than that, like I think the whole like driving aspect of it was just too ridiculous, even for a movie where you're kind of expecting like the driving skill to be like ridiculous anyways. Like I think the first film and the last film felt very grounded, and like you just felt like, oh, okay, well I can buy this as like, I could buy this as if it were actually happening. Not to slam Jason Statham movies, but like, I think if anybody were to talk about a Jason Statham film, like a Transporter or something like that, I'm sure they would say probably the same thing. I think it was kind of cool that they even did like a Transporter TV series. That was kind of like one season. and that was just kind of like it. I actually watched it. I actually got it when it was on DVD. And it was a pretty decent show. I feel it was kind of funny because they had the same French police officer from the movie, but of course everything else was different, and you were supposed to buy that this French police officer and this character had a past relationship together from the first movie, but really this guy is not Jason Statham. He doesn't look like Jason Statham. But you're supposed to buy into it anyways if these people had like a connection together. I guess like if people were unfamiliar with the movies and like just watched the TV show, it would make sense as far as like like somebody being able to buy that whole thing, but okay, we're having screen issues here. Okay, it looks like we ended up with a little bit of a glitch on this same video, so this is the reason why I kind of going back to this, and yeah, because I just had an issue with going through and or going past a certain point. If the glitch happens again, more than likely I might just stop the video there. I think the video thus far has reached about approximately 30 minutes. So we'll see how we go here. If anything, like I've been talking about Jason Statham movies, if any of you feel that maybe there is a Jason Statham movie out there that you enjoy and maybe I didn't mention, please let me know. Please even say, hey, you should review this movie. This was a great Jason Statham movie. More than likely, I might have even heard of it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this movie. I'm sorry that I didn't mention this while I was recording. If anything, I might have spaced out about it and not remember that this movie was a Jason Statham movie, or that this movie was a good movie. More than likely, because I've heard, like I've said, I've heard of so many films that more than likely I probably had heard of such and such film, and I might have just spaced out about it. Okay, are we on a glitch here? What's going on? Yeah, it looks like we might be on. We must be going on consistent glitches here. That's probably the consistent problem we are having. Whoops. So if anything, I might have to end this video soon just for that reason, because we might be glitching out. But if anything, like I said, if there's a movie that maybe to you was good, even if it's not a Jason Statham movie, it could be any movie whatsoever, more than likely if I had heard of it, or like I probably have, and like I said, I might not have mentioned it on here, or like I spaced out and forgot all about it. But hey, maybe if you want me to do a review of it someday, I would gladly do that. If anything, like, most of the stuff really isn't planned ahead. Like this game that I downloaded probably 10-20 minutes ago before I started playing this video, so not everything is just like strategically planned ahead. There's even sometimes where I do plan ahead, or I do say, hey, this is my next project that I want to do. Sometimes that ends up falling flat, or sometimes that project ends up getting scrapped for some reason. There's some times where I've done a full-fledged project, and for some reason, for maybe copyright reasons, or maybe I just didn't like the way the game looked, or I didn't like the way the game was positioned on screen. Like, there's tons of different reasons why I might have scrapped the whole project. I don't want to go through the whole spiel anyways, but anyways, if there is, what do I care about the color of the car? It's like, who cares? Okay. Well, I guess, like, if people really love customization, then good for them. Ideally, for a game like this, is like, I don't. It's like, customization, who cares? Yeah, I just want to race. I don't care about how my car looks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I said, hey, if there's any movies that anybody wants me to review, or there's some movies that I feel I could probably talk about for hours on end and whatever, but as if I could talk for a video for a whole 2 hours or whatever. I'm sure I'd run out of content to say. But like I said, if you guys have seen something and you want me to review it, get my perspective on it, or shit, if you have a movie that maybe you heard of that, or you haven't heard of that I probably have heard of. God, I've seen so many things. Because I know there's some people that are very skeptical about seeing certain movies. They're very... some people don't... Like, nowadays it's very hard to trust in a film, even though it looks good on trailer. Just like, ideally nowadays, just because a movie looks good on trailer, it could be like a heaping pile of garbage. Like, there's sometimes where a trailer looks so amazing, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for this movie to come out. It looks awesome. And then I go and I see it, and I'm like, I wasted 2 hours of my life. And there's sometimes where a trailer is just a huge pile of garbage, and you don't know what the story's going on, and you're like, oh, I don't know. And you go and you see it, and you're just like, wow, this movie was amazing. Why didn't they have all these scenes in the trailer to impress people? Like, I just don't understand where... I just don't understand when people pick out a trailer, it's very hit and miss, where maybe when... Because me and my sister went into this room and reviewed this movie, and it was a George Clooney movie. I think the title ended up being called Solaris or something, but that wasn't the original title of the movie when we looked at it. It seemed like when we watched the trailer of the film, which was not the finished trailer at all, looking at the movie when we saw it, it looked like, man, this looks like an action movie or like a detective film, and like, if anything, it looked absolutely nothing like the finished product. Like, it looked like almost like a noir film set in a space film, or set in a science fiction like theme. Like, so imagine like an LA noir, but set in a Guardians of the Galaxy-esque kind of film or something along those lines. Anyways, so it's just kind of like, if you think that something is a pile of garbage, it really isn't, like, based on looking at a trailer. So, like, ideally, I would say, like, Netflix and Redbox, we have so many advantages now to see films for cheap to little to no money. And there's so many advantages that we can take to, like, yeah, we could watch a couple of movies that are just god-awful films or just bombs or whatever. But there's also a chance that you can watch a film that's like, wow, I never would have thought that this film was going to be what it was, because the trailer was awful, or I didn't think I would like this character, or maybe you heard it from like a like I know like most of the time I get my criteria or my I hear from a lot of people on Facebook. A lot of people on Facebook, they say, "Yeah, this movie is garbage," and that's when I go, oh, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna go see that film because a lot of people have told me that this film is garbage." And then I go and even though I have like a keen eye on things and I know when a movie is gonna be like a pile of garbage, but then again, I've probably seen my fair share of piles of garbage that I've watched. So, uh, so I guess like I will ultimately just see anything. But anyways, uh, I would say like everybody goes and sees a movie based on a trailer, and I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think you I think a movie. There's some movies where a trailer hurts a film. I think there's several movies that the trailer can't make a movie look any better. It's like polishing a turd. But it's just that's my perspective. That's my analysis. Like I don't want to go like ideally I could probably go and do an entire episode talking about about the modern concept of film or the history of film or what I feel about how movies are today and dot da dot da da, and I could go for probably an hour talking about how I think or how I feel like cinema has like unless it's a Marvel movie, like you'll put your money into it, but if it's anything else, it's just like, well, let's wait till it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, and like that is just like I understand from like a budget like standpoint where like, but I feel that like when you look at all the like from all the movies that I've seen and invested my time into, like, yeah, maybe 4 out of 10 of those were just garbage movies. But those 6 or whatever were movies that maybe it didn't have a great story. Maybe it had no story at all. But it had interesting visuals and it had an interesting way to deliver whatever kind of film it was supposed to be. There's sometimes when there's like even like a movie like the Peter Jackson King Kong where like people wanted to shit all over that movie, and like I saw I think most of it because I think I had to leave for some reason, but from what I saw I was just like, well, I can understand from a special effects point of view where they probably wanted to easily just shit all over this movie. But I thought that it's like, well, for what they were trying to deliver, like they had very interesting visuals. Being that it was a time period piece, that was kind of interesting instead of giving us like a modern day King Kong, they went back in time to deliver the old-fashioned King Kong story, which was like, oh, okay, good. So it's not like they're trying to remake the original but put it in modern time. But if anyways, I think I will probably just leave this here, just because like I could go on and on for hours about talking about film and all that stuff. And I apologize if me ranting and forgetting completely about the game that I was playing here. But if anything, it was a little bit of a rant to talk about how I feel films are done, and how like a lot of times people miss out on films. A lot of people like will never know that like, hey, Death Race was a really good film, but you wouldn't know because like there wasn't a lot of promotion for this film, or there wasn't a lot of no one told you, hey, this was a really good film, please like go and see it, because maybe you didn't have friends that see a lot of films or something along those lines. But if anything, maybe you're a person that did see this film and are pretty much at this point just like, God, this guy is just blabbering on about this one film, and like how is this like, how to him it probably seems like the creme de la creme of movies and all this other stuff. But like I just thought this was a cool concept for a film, and even though it was like a remake, like I just wish that there were more risks done in film. But I just feel that that's like I said, if it's not a Marvel film, it's basically like, well, who cares? But maybe one day we'll start to again get original films, and like I think Ready Player One has, it feels very original, even though it's of course done from a story. How original can that be? But it feels very fresh. I'm just concerned that it might be way too heavy on the visuals. Like I understand like eye candy, but ooh man, it's a lot of eye candy. That's a little much, or it's almost blinding as far as eye candy goes. But if anything, I'm gonna leave this video here. I think I've mostly non-stop ranted for I don't know how long, but if anything, I would highly suggest seeing Death Race, or if you saw Death Race, maybe go and try to seek out the sequels. If you've seen every Death Race movie there is, then see more Jason Statham movies. I don't know what else to tell you. You could watch the Mad Max films. You could, if you hadn't seen I think there's a Death Race movie on Netflix that has that kind of feels kind of like very retro. It's like, I have a hard time like saying it was a good film. I feel like an interesting film. I feel that it's a film you're not supposed to take very seriously. It kind of feels like it almost feels like almost a parody of the original, of the Jason Statham film. Like it really doesn't have like, I wouldn't say it has like a grittiness. Like I feel it's very like the bubblegum version of the Jason Statham film. But anyways, I'm gonna try and wrap this up here because of how lengthy this video is getting and how much I need to edit down. So if anything, if you've stayed with me the whole time that this video has gone on, please drop a like. Please leave any kind of comment, even if it's negative one. Screw it. Say whatever you like. And if you are new to the channel, please definitely leave a drop or hit or smack the subscribe button and get more content like this in the future. I hope to keep on trucking and giving you guys more content like this. Me hopefully not going into long rants and not giving you much gameplay, but hey, please, like I said, hit or slap or love that subscribe button, and I will give you guys more I'll keep giving you guys more content in the future. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and good night and good luck.